Originally, the neighborhood association just got started over north side access problems, and it had to do with Montana Rail Link building a fence across the railroad tracks that prevented people from being able to walk across the tracks to the west side or downtown, as they had for many dozens of years beforehand. So we started working on trying to get a pedestrian-friendly access back and forth across the tracks. We started as the Northside Neighborhood Association in the early 1990s, and I was the president of the Neighborhood Association. And then I was hired by St. Pat's Hospital in 1996 to head up the Healthy Neighborhood project that they started. They wanted to enable the neighborhood, to empower the neighborhood to be able to kind of stand up and fight for things on the neighbor's own behalf, and hired me to help organize it. And we actually started the North Missoula Community Development Corporation in '96. The Healthy Neighborhood Project had a planned limited lifespan, so we started the NMCDC to carry on after my employment at the hospital was done, so that there would be an organization set up in the neighborhood.
I first became involved in the North Missoula Community Development Corporation in 2003 when my wife and I had graduated from college. At the time we had a 6-month-old daughter, and we really wanted to stay in Missoula, but back in 2003 homes were pretty expensive, especially starter homes. So we spent a long time looking around all throughout the city and found that the north side definitely had some of the more cheaper homes available, but even then they weren't within our price range at all. So we began to look around at some of the programs that Missoula had that would help first-time home buyers get into new homes of their own. One of the things that we heard about was the Community Land Trust, and actually my wife heard about it first, and she brought me over to one of the homes at Whittier Court, which is one of the NMCDC's first projects. And we looked at the home and we thought it was a great home. It hadn't been built yet, it was just stick framed. But we slowly started to get more and more involved and finally put an offer on the home. That's how I first learned about the Community Land Trust project.
I was one of the original board members, and so I was involved with it, as I would say, before it even existed. I was serving on city council representing the ward, and I'd been in the neighborhood for years and active in that kind of stuff. And so we'd been trying to get some housing going and neighborhood planning and transportation issues and a lot of different things, and working with in conjunction with the St. Patrick's Healthy Communities thing. And so when that was winding down, I also was familiar with the concept of community development corporations around the country, and sort of knew them as a tool out there. And so then when it seemed like a good idea to put one together, Bob wanted me on the board, and so I was one of the original board members.
I've been involved in planning the commercial kitchen and local foods cafe here in this space for the last almost 2 years now. Its whole purpose is to make local and healthful food more accessible, along with the food co-op, and so they're working together in that aspect. And we will be having community programs and commercial kitchen space for rent for small businesses, as well as kids table and boys and girls club partnerships in this space, giving kids free food.
The reason we chose NMCDC, the land stewardship program, over buying a market rate home or a rental is because of the affordability and the quality of home that we could get. And so when we looked at a home on the north side, it was being built, concrete floors and no walls yet. It was pretty exciting. For being a first-time homeowner, it was kind of like a dream come true, because it was quality home and we weren't gonna have to put any more money into it. It was ready to move into, so we were excited. The 5 homes were all built at the same time and sold at the same time, ready to move into, so everybody was in the same boat together. So everyone was a new homeowner, and so you really became friends with your neighbors and got to know them. But the homes have all taken on their personality. You can definitely look at the home and say, oh, they love to garden, and most people have that, have made it their home.
Everything that we've done at the NMCDC, we've had partners. It began early on with the neighborhood plan and support from the Office of Planning and Grants to do the neighborhood plan, so a great deal of city support. We've had enormous help and support from the Missoula Housing Authority. We've had a great relationship with Parks Department, building the playground at Lowell School, managing the homestead up in the North Hills. We've had great relationships with Lowell School. We helped do some school nursing projects with them when we first got started. We've had a really good relationship with Head Start. We do the outdoor cinema on the side of Head Start in the summer. We've worked with the health department on a number of issues, including some epidemiological surveys with former White Pine Sash employees. Almost every aspect of the Healthy Neighborhood Project, we've worked with various groups around town, various organizations and various city, county departments, and trying to make it a better place for people.
Community collaboration is like a central piece of getting anything done, but particularly if you're a community development corporation in a low to moderate income neighborhood, because you don't have local resources. You have to cobble together from both outside help and also with networking and partnerships locally. Housing Authority's been a big partner all along. Mud Project has been a partner. The St. Patrick's Hospital has been a partner. City, different agencies at the city. I think also some of the business interests, small businesses in particular.
Much like anything in life, you don't get anywhere by yourself, and the NMCDC has had lots of great partnerships over the last 15 years. Just since my time here as the Land Stewardship Program Coordinator, the city has been hugely influential in our success with community development block grant programs, home programs, getting us funding, helping us get through regulations, and really helping us to see our housing projects hit the ground running. Other organizations that we've worked collaboratively with is Human Resource Council, Homeward, Missoula Housing Authority has been there a number of times.
Since I've been a part of NMCDC, our community collaboration has been one of the most important things that I think I've worked on and we've all worked on, and it's been really successful to work with the food bank in getting this Kids Table program going in the space where we'll be giving kids free food throughout the summer, 5 days a week. I think Garden City Harvest is a blooming partnership that we're working on, and the Missoula Food Co-op is another great partner, an obvious partner since we incubated their business essentially, and now we're their landlords and they're successful. And
we started working on a neighborhood plan very soon after the NMCDC got started, and it was actually a 4-year planning process through the late 90s. Things that came out of that, just a whole bunch of stuff came out of that. The Mud Tool Library came out of that. The Project Playground on the west side next to Lowell School came out of that. Preserving the Moon Randolph Homestead and the North Hills came out of that. Certainly finishing the pedestrian overpass across the railroad tracks was a big part of that plan. A lot of things were accomplished in that plan, just even during the process of it before it was ever ratified. I think that was the biggest single thing that we can look at, just because it gave birth to so many other things.
Part of the idea of Community Development Corporation is to do neighborhood revitalization. I think a lot of the housing stuff, the land trust, really had a pretty dramatic impact. The example I use is the first land trust project, the little one, Whittier Street. along that street, Home Street is actually the up and down street. I used to rent on the corner of Defoe and Holmes, and they're all rentals down on that whole block, and some of them were in pretty terrible shape, and some of them were like abandoned and boarded up. And the whole concept of revitalization is if you do a project like Whittier Court, then it kind of inspires other people to do things on their own. So in a matter of a few years, that whole street just turned over from being basically a kind of a slummy place to being predominantly homeowner and predominantly fixed up and nicely cared for. That's what neighborhood revitalization is, how that's supposed to work. And so putting in those kinds of infrastructure pieces, whether it's housing or transportation or whatnot, just really bootstrap the neighborhood. I think those are the ones that have the biggest and most long-lasting effects.
When I think about all the projects that the North Missoula Community Development has done, and I try to think about which project has had the most importance, it's hard to pin down. We've done so much over the last 15 years, and then each of them are small in themselves, but when you add them up together, it creates a good, healthy neighborhood.
The NMCDC's projects, I feel, all have impacted Missoula in ways that no other organization seems to. I think probably one of the most hopeful for the community, I guess, would be the housing, the affordable housing that we do with our community land trust. We have 47 affordable homes for our first-time home buyers, and they're perpetually affordable, and nobody else is doing that in Missoula.
I think maybe the most fun project was Project Playground. That was just a real home run in terms of community involvement. And there was so many different people out there, and there was, of course, a lot of organizing that went into it, but just some really dedicated teams of neighbors got together to organize the various aspects of it. And then the week of the build, there was something like 5,000 people that came through there, volunteers to work on crews to help build that. They had two different shifts of workers going on. There was people hammering, screwing, nailing, feeding everybody else, staining the wood, you name it, and it's just, that was huge. And there was a lot of publicity, and there was just a lot of really happy people.
One of my favorite projects that we do, and one of the things that I'm most happy to be involved with, would be the Missoula Outdoor Cinema. What's not to like? You get to go set up audio-video equipment on the side of Whittier School, which is now Head Start on the west side, crank the music, wait for the people to show up, and then show great films, and it's just fun. Free, $5 donation, we get tons of people, everyone loves it, there's never any tears.
I think my favorite memory of working with the NMCDC has been watching this building just grow into a beautiful community space, whereas before it was a warehouse that was totally decrepit. And now it's this gorgeous light-filled space with a ton of potential, and it's been really fun to see it happen. So.
We do try to go to the the harvest that they have every year up at the Moon Randolph Homestead, and they do a kind of a potluck dinner and apple pressing, which is fun, especially if the weather's nice. So we try to go to that every year.
One of the things that I'm most excited for in the future that we just started working on would be Trust Montana, which is taking the community land trust model that Allison Handler and the NMCDC started and expanding it to the entire state of Montana, and really starting to touch on some of those rural communities that don't have the capacity to have an affordable housing program, and bringing them all the tools of the community land trust to start those affordable housing programs that they need. So I'm really looking forward to that.
We're doing statewide partnerships now, starting the community land trust that's statewide. So we're working with NeighborWorks Montana and plenty of other housing organizations.
NMCDC has been really successful for the last 15 years being an opportunity center for the neighborhood. Many of the programs, many of the great things that have a commodity organization weren't generated by the staff, that it came from neighbors who came to us and said, wouldn't it be great if we did outdoor cinema, or we really need to improve the playground equipment. We need to preserve the homestead. All those things have come from the neighborhood, and I think that's the great value of this group, is to be able to take advantage of opportunities or make opportunities that people want to see happen in the neighborhood, including our land stewardship program and the community land trust. And that again came from somebody in the neighborhood who came and said, wouldn't it be great to establish a community land trust? So yeah, that's the real value of this organization, I think.